Back to Ravens today. I'm your host, Connor Gioffreda, giving you all the latest updates on anything and all things Ravens. Massive news for you guys. Let's dive into it, okay? Massive trade that just happened yesterday. Odafe Oweh, no longer a Raven, going to the Chargers. That's right, people. So Odafe Oweh was traded to the Chargers for a fifth-round pick and safety Alohi Gilman. Not sure how I feel about this trade. I think the EDC is cooking something here. I think he's cooking. I'm not really sure, but trust it because this defense needs answers, and they need it desperately. So Gilman has had 3 interceptions, 3 forced fumbles in the last 3 seasons, which is pretty good to say the least. So I'm not like this defense is completely in a rebirth, but it's like, okay, like cool. It allows Kyle Hamilton to go back in the nickel, which is great because that's where he thrives the most. Okay, so Oweh's progress I'm sorry. I said that may have said this earlier on in the season, or even before then, that Oweh probably wasn't going to get extended by the Ravens, especially with the amount of contract extensions that we were going to have. I just didn't think that it was going to be a trade. He might have just been let go. But again, hopefully he has a career resurgence on the Chargers. But again, massive news that the Ravens are going this route. I would have preferred if they got a pass rusher because that's exactly what we need, or defensive lineman, because, again, we need pressure on the quarterback. So EDC is probably cooking something up here. I don't know what it is, but I'm hoping that, it is something good. I mean, we've seen a lot of good things come out of Eric DaCosta before, so hopefully we'll see it again. To move into more in-depth analysis about this, mind you, the Ravens and Odafe Oweh had been in contract extension negotiations, but it never went far. Never. This was over the offseason. They were just always, it just never got close to what Odafe Oweh wanted and what the Ravens saw in him. So this means that they were probably trying to get, something a little bit on the smaller side, and Odafe Oweh wanted more, which just makes sense. Players always want more money. But the Ravens, we can't see this happening. And in March, he probably would have been let go as a restricted free agent. And I mean, our pass rush room just got smaller, but it's, again, hopefully this is something that Eric DaCosta will definitely capitalize on with the amount of cap we are saving, which is $9 million, which is a significant amount. But again, it's just, to me, it just seems like we're building to something because we desperately need answers. Odafe Oweh at 33% in terms of pressure. It's not good. Especially for, we've waited, and mind you had some good moments, but there was nothing that came into fruition. Like, we didn't see him really elevate and break out. And we saw that a lot when he took less reps at this season so far. He took less reps. He went from, Mike Green started taking more reps than him. So it's just it just means that the Ravens are ready to move on. And I agree. I think that the Oweh experiment's over, and it was time to move on. I remember when we drafted Ajabo and Oweh, and we thought, oh man, the pass rush is just going to be lethal. Flash forward 3-4 years later, yeah. I mean, David Ajabo is still on the Ravens, so his tenure as a Raven is still there, but we'll see what happens over the next couple of weeks. But again, no fruition for that contract for Oweh, and rightfully so. I never want to take away someone's payday, but I have a strong, and I'm just a fan commenting on this. That Oweh wanted more money because he felt like he deserved it, while the Ravens were like, we can't give you this because you haven't shown us anything that would make you that would make you deserve this. Mind you, 10 sacks in a single season last year, great. That was great development. It was his first time that he got double digit sacks in an NFL season. We thought that this was going to elevate him, but no, we haven't seen any of that. And the Ravens felt like it was time to move on. Mind you, the cap space was saved, pretty good. Moving on, so another major signing, folks. C.J. Gardner-Johnson is officially a Raven. There's a reason I love this, because signed to the practice squad, by the way. Obviously, will probably be elevated later on. He has got a mouth like Marcus Peters. He is not afraid to speak his mind to the coaching staff, to anyone, or the front office, to anyone. When something goes awry, he will speak up about it. I love that attitude. This is why his career on the Texans was, he was traded and everything and go. It's because of the friction that he had with the coaching staff on the Texans in the front office. I think I love that attitude. When you want to, when you say to the coaches, listen, this isn't working. We got to do something. This isn't working, and you're insisting on this, this will work. It's it's not working. We're 1-4. We need players like that, players that are willing to speak up. Mind you, I think that it's more internal that the Ravens, these players are announcing their, but they're discontent with the coaching staff. But if they do speak it out loud, they're afraid that they're going to be let go next season, and they don't have a job. C.J. Gardner-Johnson's been around the league a while. He has had history with fighting with the front office and the coaching staff. I like that, because it just tells us he's not afraid to speak his mind. He's like Marcus Peters, who is not afraid to speak his mind. And he still is reliable as a corner. It just allows, more depth pieces in the corner position, especially with Marlon Humphrey out for a few more weeks. Hopefully Humphrey returns after the bye, but the way he's going, it hasn't been a great season, start of the season for him. So glad that the Ravens got a reliable guy in C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Hopefully he's another member of this newest member of this team that can give a real kick in the butt to this defense. Also, lastly here, and this is telling me that this is why there's some discourse. Okay, so Ravens have been looking at their current coaching staff that is not Zach Orr to find answers. I like this. It's just one of those things where it's okay, we need help here for more experienced coaching. Harbaugh had mentioned that they had conversation with Dean Pease for answers. They are leaning on Chuck Pagano immensely for defensive fixes. Chuck is a great coach, according to Harbaugh, and he and Zach have been talking. I think that I'm hoping that we're going to see a change soon, because mind you, Harbaugh has been very defensive of Zach Orr. But when you start leaning on other coaches for guidance, and that's fine. When you need advice from more experienced coaches, great. I love that. It just means you're willing to learn and try to fix what you need to be fixed. But I would lean on a more experienced coach to be the defensive coordinator. Chuck Pagano. Perfect example. What else can you say? It's when you're leaning on this guy, mind you, Pagano's been retired and then came back onto the Ravens squad. But it's just we need answers now, and it's better to rely on the veterans. I don't think Zach Orr is going there's going to be a lot of pressure for Harbaugh to possibly replace Zach Orr, and I'm hoping Pagano's our defensive coordinator at some point in the season. Hopefully during the bye something happens where it's we got to move on, because we have the Rams this week. that's not a tough throwaway game. That is a tough game. And right now, with the way our defensive looks, I'm thinking Matthew Stafford's going to throw for 7, 8 touchdowns. Puka Nacua is going to have a record-breaking, you know, game. So we got to figure it out fast, and it's going to be like a tough wake up call. Hopefully, I don't want the Ravens to lose. Obviously, I want the Ravens to win. I want them to find the fire again. But the way it's going, just being realistic, it's like, did this team just give up? I mean, do we need another coach to just be like, okay, we need to figure this out? I've mentioned my distrust in Harbaugh. I still think we need to get him replaced. Doing it in the middle of the season, whatever. I think that this is just showing what kind of coach he is without talent. First step, I think it's time to get rid of Zach Orr. And if they're leaning on Chuck Pagano immensely, safe to say there are probably going to be some internal discussions on a replacement for Orr, and hopefully that's the case. Thank you for tuning in to Ravens today. I'm your host, Connor Gioffreda. Again, subscribe to the channel, like the video. I will catch you all later.